Welcome to the CXPod, where we aim to expand people's perception of customer experience management. We know that customer experience goes hand in hand with employee experience, and we believe that a broader and more holistic view might even replace terms like CX and EX with people experience or human experience.
Hello and welcome to the CXPod this morning. Welcome, Joanna. How are you?
I am very good, thank you. And how are you today, Merete?
I am good. I have had breakfast. I had blueberry jam. So if you see some blueberry, that's my treat for you guys today. The morning went faster than I expected. So yeah, here we are. And welcome to our guest, Martin.
Yay!
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Did you have breakfast?
I had breakfast, and I just got myself a good cup of coffee and a glass of water. So I think I'm good to go.
Good to go.
That's good. We have to say for our listeners that Martin and myself, we were good to go. We've eaten our breakfast, we've had our coffee, while we've just been getting ready. Merete was running around and eating a breakfast and grabbing a coffee. Sorry, Merete. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I think, it's worth mentioning then that having blueberry jam for breakfast just before you're doing a video podcast may not have been the greatest idea ever, but here we are. And I think, if you find that, I don't know, somewhat offending, then you could always just put your phone in the pocket and just not watch.
Yeah.
We do know that a lot of people do that, so that's fine. But I'm very excited to have Martin on board today because, first of all, you're Danish, so that's always just great because I think Scandinavia is, we need to interact more and we need to share more knowledge and we need to sort of learn more from each other. So I think that's really good. And also, I just love the Danish language. Unfortunately, we have to do this in English, but here we are. But do you mind just starting by telling us where are you? Where are you situated in Denmark?
I'm situated north of Copenhagen in a city called Helsingør. So actually the closest I can be to Sweden when I'm Danish. So that's where I'm located. And today I'm working from home. So very nice.
That's good. So we're going to get you going with our question challenge. And but before that, thank you for being here with us. We've met before at the Nordic B2B CX conference. You held a speech there, which was really nice. I love the way you sort of exemplified how you can work with CX, but you used examples also from your private life. I can mention a sailboat. Maybe we'll touch upon that later.
Let's do it.
Yeah, but it's really nice having you here, and I'm so happy that you are willing to share some of the sort of nuggets of wisdom that you carry, because you have quite a long experience with working with this. So we'll get back to that. But first of all, I'm just going to let you introduce yourself in your own words. Mm-hmm. So who is Martin?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the personal side, and I think let's also talk about the sailboat because I love that. But I think first of all, I'm a family man. I live in Helsingør, as I mentioned, with a wife and 3 kids. 2 of them teenagers, and 1 is going to be a teenager soon. So I basically go to work to balance my life and relax from family. Then, as you mentioned, I'm a passionate sailor. That's where I really level out, or at least I try to be a sailor with a little help from both friends and family. And we have a sailboat here, and we really love sailing around in Denmark and Sweden as well. I play a bit of soccer, football, like many Danish men do. I'm not that good at it, but I really have fun. So completely amateur level, and I think that's the personal side of me.
So why don't you sail to Norway, though? Sorry to interrupt, but I have to ask that question.
Because in Denmark we have 3 weeks of vacation, so it's gonna be too much sailing and too little time in all of the cozy harbors going there.
Yeah, that's a valid excuse.
Yeah, and I think any sailor would have like the discussion at home that at least if you're a family like us with a man and a woman and some kids, the man just want to sail, and the women, they want to get some coziness and go shopping and go experience things, right? So it's like, that's a fight we have.
It's a compromise. All right.
You're forgiven. I call it a fight. But yeah, it's a compromise. Yeah, sure. And then I think professionally, I'm the customer experience manager of Alfa Laval. And Alfa Laval is a global provider of products within areas as heat transfer, separation, and fluid handling. So a lot of products, a lot of industries we cover. So many products, I don't know all of them. I don't understand all of them. But what I do understand is our customer relations and how products are connected and services are connected in order for customers to reach their goal. So that's my professional life, and I think my education. I hold an MSc in Business Administration and Marketing from Copenhagen Business School. I think we're also quite a Scandinavian school. Has been for many years. And then I spent most of my life working actually as an external consultant for many different companies, both in Denmark, but also in Scandinavia, and also some international companies. So my role in Alfa Laval, I've been here for 3 years now. It's actually my first internal role in a global company after this education. So you could say I have trying to avoid it until now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think it must add such value to the work that you do, that you've sort of been on both sides of the table, so to say. Yeah. I think it was also a really nice point. Sorry, Manette. A really good point that you mentioned, Martin, about you don't know all the products. I think sometimes we get a bit apprehensive that we think, oh, if I'm going into a role as a customer experience manager, then I have to understand everything, because it's something we talk a lot about, that you would need to work holistically, but you don't really.
No. And I can recognize that as well, starting a new industry myself, 2.5 years ago, even if it makes sense. I mean, I've talked to you about fluid handling before, and we didn't really talk about fluid handling. We talked about what we don't understand about it. But I think in my industry, it's more or less understandable still, because I'm in real estate and building houses. So to a certain level, you can understand what it's about. But then again, that's not the skills that I've been using to sort of improve the customer journey. And I think it's great actually that companies see that you don't have to have experts within, because then it would be really hard to find an expert on both fluid handling and customer experience at the same time. So I think that's good for them that they chose you.
Exactly. And I agree with you on that, but I also hear other way around, that you have to be an expert about it. So it's a discussion out there. I think I also have discussions about it. I'm fairly open about it, right? Saying this is my field of expertise, and this is super interesting, but I'm not the expert on this, but I can feed into it. And then we'll have the expert kind of using this as just a data point, CX, I would say. So that's how I...
And working with CX, a lot of the time you are a facilitator. You're just connecting people who need to talk to each other, and then you sort of draw out the essence that is important to the customer, but all the other stuff. But you still need to sort of have a touch on it. But in my opinion, you don't have to be an expert. If you are, that could probably be good, but then you would also have a lot more to do, because you would be utilized for more stuff. So it's a risk as well. If you have an expert, then the focus on the customer experience may be dragged out, because you need to be the expert person as well. So
And as we're talking about expert, that was a great segue, because the next question for you, Martin, is could you tell us a little bit about what you would say your field of expertise is within this realm of customer experience?
Yeah, exactly. And as I normally explain it, I think customer experience management and making the most of it to inspire for change, and also motivate employees and colleagues to kind of perform in ways that makes meaningful change. So I want to kind of take the voice of the customer, and then I want to serve it to people with some recommendations on what to do about it, and then get them to understand why are they doing it, what is the expected outcome, and how do we create win-win situations, and so to say. So I think that's kind of the umbrella of what I do. And then I think below that, of course, designing and running CX programs, voice of customer programs, to support business objectives, both at the strategic level, tactical level, but also at operational level, depending on what are the demands here, what are the business objectives that we are trying to support, as I would say. Then it's leading the implementation work, both on the IT side, where this is necessary. That is often the Achilles heel for what can be done afterwards, but also very much in the business implementation across different functions, facilitating workshops on the when, what, and hows of CX, and most important, how to use all of this when we gather the information. That is kind of what I think is a big challenge in many companies out there. How to actually use this in meaningful ways, and that is where my last field of expertise comes into place. Transformational leadership, leading the change here, motivate, inspire, make it simple to people. What are the objectives here? What are we aiming to achieve? Help them kind of do something about it, and then measure the effect and learn from it, and kind of create that or support that customer-centric culture that many are talking about.
So how do you get them to talk about it? Because that's just something it's been swirling around my mind due to other discussions that we're having. So, how do you make everyone talk about this?
I think in most cases it's and in my case now it's fairly easy because people are talking about it. I think most companies, big or small or whatever industry, most of them are talking about customer experiences or customer centricity. They're finally, after all of these years, starting to get it. And then we can discuss, is it just CX washing, customer centricity washing, or are people doing something about it? But I actually think getting to talk about it, it's many years ago I have experienced that as and my first must-win battle, to be honest. It's more about, that sounds interesting. And then the consultative approach. What are you already doing about it, or how do you go about it? And then starting kind of the discussion, feeding in, okay, do you then use customer feedback for this? Or do you then hear, because I think we hear from all types of colleagues, both positive and negative. If customers are unhappy, we're going to hear from them anyway. Yeah. When they leave. So it's like, but I know that we're doing fantastic, or our products are superior. Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you document that? So I think it's fairly easy to talk about and kind of poke a bit to people just by showing some sincere interest in what do you do to kind of make sure your customers are getting maximum use out of our products or something. I normally go the customer success way to ask if I can't get anybody to talk about themselves and feed in, I just ask them, who cares about customers reaching their goals doing business with you? Because everybody is talking about the customers being on a journey within our company and all of that. And we can fairly easily talk about that to at least marketing colleagues and other colleagues across. But nobody's talking about the customers actually. Of course, people are, but I think many are not focusing on what are the customers aiming to achieve by doing business with us, because that is what you're supporting. So you could actually flip it around and say, we're actually at a journey with this customer, rather than other way around. And then, of course, I know. Now I'm just starting my confusing talk here, but I think, that focus, it's fairly easy to start a discussion around.
Yeah, I love, and I think Joanna will share this sort of amusement that, what you're basically talking about is the jobs to be done as well, right? That
Exactly.
What can your product do for them? So great. And I love that you say that people are already talking about this, because in our experience, and I'm not going to track us totally off now, but we do see a lot of companies talk about this, and we do see a lot of companies being eager to tell how customer-centric they really are. But then we see that, a lot of them still fail in actually living up to that expectation.
What are you doing about it, or how do you go about it? Basically?
We call it CX washing. So we're not going to go straight into that, because that's going to, bring us down a rabbit hole, and we know what happens then. But Just before we move on, and this is also, it may seem like a silly question for a podcast like the CXPod, but we like to ask everyone this question still, because there are so many different opinions about this. So in your own experience and your own words and your own opinion, how would you define customer experience or even customer experience management? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, and I think customer experience is, to me, what companies in total deliver to their customers. So basically, the sum of everything you do as a company towards your customers or towards markets. And I think it's simple as that. It's not specific products or specific customer service or specific offerings. It's a sum of everything. It's also it's a corporate image. It's a products. It's a solutions. It's a service. It's a marketing around it. It's the process how you are invoiced as a customer. It's the packaging of your products. So it's like, you name it. I think all little bits and bigger bits all creates kind of part of the total customer experience. And all of it, one way or another, impacts satisfaction, loyalty, it impacts churn, it impacts the order intake. And I think that goes across no matter what type of business it is. So I would define it as the sum of everything you do as a company towards your customers.
Yeah. And Martin, who would you say should own this? And this is very interesting perspective, because you've been on both sides of the table.
Exactly. And this is where I would like to say, everyone, next question, please.
Yeah.
because I think that links together with the sum of everything we do. I think as employees, we all have some impact on customer experience. Even we don't have direct action towards the customers. We still send them mails. We still inspire our colleagues to do something towards colleagues. Or we send something that eventually ends up at a customer or whatever. So I think what is important to me is that I think everybody should be aware that they have an impact. If possible, they should kind of start framing what is my impact on customer experience. If you really want to do customer centricity, and then you should start working with that and owning it. To say, when you're designing our invoicing process, that has a direct impact on customer churn, on customer satisfaction and loyalty. We have some input on it, but we would like it to have it. We would like you to kind of start taking that into the equation and taking that into your discussion. So I actually think that everybody should own this. And end of day, it should be the business leaders deciding, we want to do something about this, just like they take decisions on everything else in East and West. Make this part of the decision-making process.
Yeah, I think this is something. Go ahead, Joanna.
No, I was just about to say, I totally agree. I think everybody should own it. I'm just reflecting over an experience I had yesterday as a customer. I'm in the middle of moving, and yesterday I received all of my boxes that I've ordered from IKEA.
Exactly.
And I don't need to mention the company that was the delivery partner for the company, but they didn't say a word almost. They had a total body fremtoning. What was the English word, Merete? Body language. Body language that was really unhappy and almost angry at me because I was making them walk up 2 flights of stairs. And this was already delivered. And I felt guilty as a customer. I was even helping them carry, I would do that anyway, carry the smaller boxes. But I was thinking, this is the frontline people that are unhappy with their job, but they're creating the end part of the customer experience for another company. And this sort of brings the perspective. I totally agree that everybody should own it. But what can we do above that to help influence these people that should be acting in a different manner to deliver the experience that we want them to experience? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the step one of that is easy. Expose it.
Yeah.
But expose it to the right people at IKEA, and that is sometimes kind of the difficult thing, I would say, because my bet would be knowing a bit about IKEA, and they do know how to do great customer experiences.
Yeah, they do.
We can all three agree on that, even though you like them or not. But I'm pretty sure IKEA, they don't know about it,
No.
and you're maybe not the only one who experiences. So I think that is kind of
But do you
where
though? I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm
no,
thinking IKEA must know about this problem, and they're probably working really, really hard to do something
To fix
about
it.
it. But the opportunity or even the possibility for them to have an effect is so little, because one thing is the top management of the delivery company who probably totally agrees with IKEA, but then they have a cultural problem. They have a layer problem, within having this, the training, and they probably have like staff coming in, going out, the turnovers. I'm just imagining, the whole chain of elements here that need to work to make this experience. And we've talked about this before. So yeah,
that
but you have to
that
keep telling them every single episode. I agree.
they need to be aware about it, and they need to know the impact about it. And if they already are, then I would actually be tease them a bit and say, okay, funny they didn't do anything about it yet, because it should be pretty easy finding another delivery company to
Exactly.
and kind of set just one demand: please smile to our customers.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of
Yeah.
big things in their
Yeah.
life. You are part of their journey. Joanna is moving. It's probably a big thing. As I remember, it
Yeah.
can be pretty stressful. So please help them. So you're part of delivering our experience. So I think that that to me is not too difficult.
No, and I think
And I
just
think
to reflect a little bit upon this as well, because lately I've been in discussions with people from this industry as well. Various companies who deliver from the official previous state-owned ones till the more commercial ones, and I think for them as well to be offering a delivery to a competitive price, the margins are really, really small, and then it doesn't allow for them to sort of implement. And that's when we start talking about, how can you use innovation to sort of improve a service that is basically unimprovable? Because if you want to improve it, it's going to cost more, and the consumer don't want to pay more for something that somebody else charges less for, even if the experience sucks, because at the end of the day, price is such a big driver. So it's a really interesting discussion, I think.
Yeah.
exactly. But the delivery guy is smiling to Joanna. What is
That
the
doesn't
cost of
cost
that?
anything.
No.
It doesn't
Exactly.
cost anything, and that's where kind of the human experience that we have been discussing as well. The three of us
Yeah.
also comes into place. It doesn't have to be either difficult or expensive
Yeah.
to help improve customer experiences.
And I
I
love
think,
that you're pointing that out, because you are so totally right. The smile doesn't have a price tag on it. Having
exactly.
happy employees may have a little cost, but that's going to benefit you in so many other ways as well. So investing in that should be the no-brainer in this.
And then I think getting back to the ownership, where I'm saying everyone, because I think that's kind of also a bit naive, and I have been called that. I don't mind. And I think let's try to get back to that later on. But I think you also need some structure, and you also need some decision power, and you also need some ways of working that are agreed, is to kind of avoid this CX washing that we have been talking about, and probably will be talking about in a few minutes. And I think in Alfa Laval, we are a Swedish company, so it's a bit consensus driven if we compare to Scandinavian companies. And still, we have a governance decided around it. So ownership of the customer experience program, as we call it in Alfa Laval, it's led by me, but I'm not a one-man army, because one-man armies, they rarely work. And so what we did is we actually built a core team for CX, where we have one representative per our region and one representative per our business division. And those, together with me, we actually own the CX program. And then we are kind of ensuring the cascade there, I would say.
Yeah.
So what we do there is basically we agree as a team, what is it we do? what are the ways of working, how do we do it. Then we have further in each our sales company and business units and functions going across, we have representatives that they kind of lead as well. So we have a pretty strong communication and customer experience cascade of things. So for instance, when I do an analysis and chase down an area, we get together in the team goes out to all of the organization, and then there's kind of one demand being part of this team, and that is make this part of the decision making process at your local management, make it part of our plans.
Yeah.
Then you can do your tick in the box. And that's how we make sure that people are listening to customers and either decide to do something about it, which we're happy about, or decide we're not doing anything about it this year for this and that reason. That's also fine. You had the opportunity. So I think some structure is also needed before building this customer.
Really interesting.
Everybody else.
And I think, like you say, structure, the right process, the right training for the right people for that process. And then there's the overlying sort of element of culture that needs to be built from everywhere and from everyone. But I'm just starting, and this is also lately having so many good discussions about so many different CX topics that, it's the two things. One is the stuff that you can have as a routine that you teach your people and everyone can learn it. And then it's the sort of customer gene or the customer DNA that not everyone has it, but it could more or less be taught, I think, but you need to sort of lift up the stars who live, talk the talk and walk the walk. And having that combination, I think I'm starting to see it as a really important success criteria for delivering good customer experiences, because there are so many things that people wouldn't do by their own sort of intuition. But if you tell them that this is important and why, they would be able to do it. So it's a training and in combination with that. And I've just been reflecting so much of how can we combine these two in the best possible way to have that outcome. So I think it's really interesting. And the way you talk about how you cascade things and, you've chosen certain sort of roles that have an impact, both, regionally, but also business areas or, I think it's, I like it. I would love to hear more about it. We don't have time to tap that deep into it. But it's really, really interesting, the Alfa Laval example, I would say.
And of course, there's a good old weapon of simply exposing things, exposing progress, giving a stage to people who did a fantastic job, and thereby indirectly also exposing who's not really doing anything yet. And then you can hope the competition to kind of begin a bit, right? Because everybody wants a trophy, right? So
good point. So let's move on. We also want to know what, and this, I think maybe you've sort of pointed a little bit ahead to this question as well earlier, or maybe it was just a random hint, I don't know, but we talk a lot about what's happening today, like the customer-centric business world of today. So what's catching your attention the most, and what is it that you see trends, and what would you say sort of, what does it mean and why does it happen? It's quite a big question, so you can sort of attack it the way you want, but
yeah, exactly. But I think what is capturing my attention is, and we already discussed it, that is the CX washing that everybody seems to be talking about, either customer centricity or customer experience. It's in almost every company's strategy or plans, at least in wording. But it's also very fluffy in many cases, and in many cases it seems that we are just raising the flag that, hey, we're doing something for CX. Then we are implementing, in worst cases, some random surveys here and there, and we're not really following through on it. We're not really designing the program to support specific business goals. We are kind of trying to ask and trying to feed in here and there, and it doesn't really get the attention it needs. It doesn't really get the traction. There are no changes and all of that. So I would say that is what is capturing my attention. And having been an external consultant for many years, it's like it's few questions that needs to be asked in all companies to kind of start building and structuring the voice of customer program or the customer experience program to actually help people from day one. Because if you don't help people from day one, and they will not see the value of the program, and then it's just gonna be like a hygiene survey running, and customers are happy and customers are leaving us, but and then they're back to business as usual 10 years ago or 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is what is capturing my attention. Either you design your program to support some specific business objectives and or identify new ones, or don't do it.
Yeah.
I agree, and I love that you address this because I don't think anyone else has sort of pointed out. We talk a lot about CX washing, and obviously this is something that's occupying our minds these days. But the fact that you sort of see it so clearly, because obviously we've seen this for a long while, but I think it's becoming more and more common. And I mean, I've stated before that the word customer centric, or the focus on our customers, it's sort of, there's an inflation going on that people talk about it, but it doesn't mean anything anymore, because it's like the price promise, right? That no, we have the cheapest prices. No, we have the cheapest prices.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you end up just sort of figuring out what do I reckon is a good price, and then you go there, because there's no way of knowing who is exactly, because everyone states, with yellow letters that we are the cheapest.
And I think they're easy to identify, at least to me, because the CX washers, as you would call them, those are often the ones bragging about in their marketing campaigns. We have the most satisfied customers. We have top scores on Trustpilot. We have whatever. So those are like,
they show to a sort of like a competition or whatever that's like 5 years old. Like 5 years ago, you used to have the most happy customers, but you don't anymore.
Exactly. Those are kind of roughly, and now I like to be a bit provocative. That's like the CX washers over there. And then who's actually working with this, and who's come quite a way on customer centricity? Well, notice what companies are actually fairly open about. This is what we're working on to improve the customer experience to you, because that is kind of also exposing themselves to say, hey, you purchasing products and services in our company, that pays our salary. We're listening to you. We're working on this because you told us you want more of this.
Yeah,
I just recently saw
where I'm saying, okay, you seem to have gotten it. But also recognizing it's a journey, right? And the larger the company, maybe the harder that journey could be. I don't know.
It's a textbook example, and I've just been aware that I'm not going to mention the companies as well, because we try to be nice here and civilized. So a little bit provocative still. This is I can say as much as it's banking services in Norway, and we have this one example of a company with the great values and the great sort of strategy statements and the vision and the mission, and the customer is mentioned, and you wouldn't believe how much focus they have on being the most innovative and the most sort of creative and the most kind and human sort of centric company. But then when you read the news, it doesn't add up. And then you have another company who doesn't really say that much about how they focus on this. But what they do is they show this is what you guys have asked for. This is what we have implemented already, and this is our roadmap for stuff that we are planning to do, so that you can see that it's not just talking the talk when they answer negative customer reviews on whatever site they're on. They don't say, like the first example, they would say, it's funny that you didn't hear from us because we do reply within 1 to 3 days. But then this other company says, you know what, we understand that this is frustrating. Our products aren't perfect. We would love to have your feedback about this. It's really easy to leave it, by clicking here. And more than 50,000 customers have given us sort of feedback on our services. And if you want to see what we're doing about it, you can click here. And then you have the list of implemented stuff, and then the list of stuff that's about to be implemented or planned.
Yeah.
And it's just, they don't even see that you are important to us as a customer. They don't even say it. They just show it.
Show it. Yeah. I love that.
I love the examples, and I'm going to be following these two and other, similar services now, because I would be very surprised if they're, if they're allowed to keep going like this without doing anything and still sort of have
win
the
market
brand.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting going on, and everyone probably understands what I'm talking about. But then again, we don't mention names, do
Yeah,
we?
exactly.
Do we now?
No.
Yo,
No.
Let's jump
exactly.
to the next question,
Yes.
because the next question is, what is the most significant challenge companies face today when serving customers well? What's your take on that?
My, my take on that is two things, and again, it's depending on size of the company and what business you're in and everything. But I think what I have learned is going fairly much across is silo thinking. As one challenge, or as I like to call it when we do personal discussions, one hand not knowing what the other one is doing. That is challenge
Yeah.
number one. And then I think it's what we talked about some minutes ago. I think lack of customer success ownership. So this back to this question: who oversees that our customers are reaching their goals by doing business with us? So those are the two significant challenges. And I think if you do not try to manage this or manage it completely, it can break the customer journeys that are designed, and pretty much work is going into those customer journey designs. I think across a lot of opportunities are missed because of these two challenges. It makes it super difficult to be a customer in many cases. And I think end of day, if it's too difficult, customers can fairly easy find somewhere else to do their business, find someone else that at least gives a perception that they care more about me. Because often in the sales, initial sales phase, that's when we have the good dialogue with customers, right? That what are you aiming to achieve, and this is how we can help you, and all of that. So I think that is kind of two challenges: silo thinking and not having ownership of the customer success.
Yeah, I think you are right. And again, the ownership thing is, yeah, let's not delve into that right now, but yeah. So then again, if we twist that question, so this is the challenges. So what do you think are the key attributes then? I suppose obviously breaking down the silos, but
Yes.
also what else?
Yeah. And I think this is this can also vary a lot. But reflecting about it, I think being an agile organization that is capable of kind of fairly quickly adapting to any threats you might see, or act on the opportunities that customers are they're actually giving it to you, right? If you do a survey to key decision makers, they will tell you in that survey, as if we don't really read it, exactly what they think and feel in their own words, and by scoring us and all of that. They will even tell us, do you expect the business to increase, and within which areas? And I'm like, come on, use it, share sales. It's
Yeah.
perfect opportunity. Here you
So
have it.
Martin, can I
So that is
interrupt
what.
you with it's an
Yes,
add-on question, so I'm surprising you now, and I hope that's okay because this is also something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and I think you may be able to provide a good answer to this. So
let's try.
how do you feel, or is it okay if a company is really good, like you say, being agile, adapting to the opportunities that they find, and sort of running on those, and actually being able to create, I don't know, new products or new ways of doing things, but then at the same time they may be lagging on other stuff that is related to the customer experience. So is it okay to not have a seamless experience across the whole journey, or should you be focusing on aligning the experience, or should you sort of allow that? We can be really great here, but then down here, there's stuff still going on that we're aware about, but we haven't been able to fix it yet. What's your take on that?
My take is we're all human, and we can't design the perfect and seamless customer experience. I know everybody, many are talking about this seamless customer experience, but I don't think there are many of these that are actually seamless. And I think let's be transparent about that, and let's focus on kind of eye on the ball. And this is why I'm back to the customer success. Almost what question you challenge me with. Have that discussion with your customer. What are you aiming to achieve? If you have that dialogue, if you have that consultative approach, you will make it seamless together, right? And of course, there's going to be obstacles here and there. And I think this is kind of where the next attributes would come into place. Have more decision power that is closer to the customer. rather than
Yeah.
having consultants or salespeople or service people or whatever business you are in, having kind of a fixed frame. This is what you do. This is what you sell. Here's the
Yeah.
price. That is
I
kind of
like
just
it.
supporting the silo thinking. If you get some
Mhm.
decision power and you kind of empower these people to dare to advise these freaking customers, dare to
Yeah.
challenge them a bit, and then you'll build kind of that specific seamless customer experience together with the customer. So if you can move the decision power a bit closer to the customer, I think that would be a good thing. And then,
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, we do have a little bit of a delay as normally, so that's why it seems like we're interrupting each other. But I just wanted to add, a customer journey can be seamless even if the processes aren't, because if you add a human on top who makes sure to set the expectations and say, look, I know you're expecting an answer to this within tomorrow. I see right now that that's not going to happen, so I'm just letting you know that it's going to take another week. And there you have seamlessness, even if the process isn't seamless. So I love the fact that you mentioned decision making and mandate. We've talked so much about it. And also, the power to act and also the power to make decisions and act on them basically is so crucial. So yeah, thank you for sort of taking the challenge. It's an unlisted question, so but yeah,
Great question.
great chat.
And I think we've touched about being agile, that is a key attribute, and being agile, of course, comes from having the data and the knowledge. So what is your take, Martin, on a voice of the customer programs?
My take is, if you talk voice of customer or customer experience program, is either you design it to support specific business objectives, to measure the effect and feed into new ideas and new objectives, or you don't do it at all. Because I think by designing it based on what you aim to achieve, and that is kind of back to my question number one, what are we aiming to achieve by now having this voice of customer program or CX program? What are we aiming to achieve? If you build it based on that, you have a perfect opportunity in the CX team, or if you're the one-man army, which I have many colleagues that are, you have the perfect opportunity to help people from day one when you have some scores. And if you get off for a good start and you help people from day one, can be a simple survey, I don't know, can be simple questions, you have the perfect thing to build on and feed it into the existing decision-making process. I think that is my take on it. I think we have all seen this and heard all of these good examples of irrelevant surveys, and one is more fun than the other, right? And I'm like, hey, where can I sign up for a newsletter and get a survey a week and get 5 emails a day, right? Because I bought flowers for my wife at some random place. Come on, we can do better than that. So I think that is my take.
Talking about
does that mean that surveys, that they also need to be agile? Because this is the typical problem we see, is that it's the standard survey that goes out every year or every week or after a certain interaction that's taken place, and it's exactly the same KPIs that are but should they be more agile? Should they be more qualitative in some respects?
Of course, they should be more agile. If they're quantitative or qualitative, I think that is kind of a detail, doesn't really matter. I think what is the important question here, and what I'm normally concerned about, is what business objectives are we supporting with this? And if no one have an answer for that, kill the survey.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Don't do it. Because then you're just adding to this inflation that is killing the market and has been for many years, right?
Yeah. Totally with
kill
you.
it. Kill the
And
survey. Kill your babies as well.
And everybody struggles with lower response rates, right? So and all of these surveys are adding to it. So I would rather cut down on surveys not bringing any value. So yes, they should be agile.
Yeah,
agreed.
good answer.
So technology-wise, because we live in the world of technology, and we've seen that digital transformation moving on as a fast train for quite a few years now. So looking back a little bit and even looking forward, how do you feel that technology has changed? Today's customer journeys in general, I suppose, but also what do you feel about how they will change the future?
Yeah, and I think today compared to 10 or 15 years ago, and yes, I've been in this business for quite some years, but I think today customers have many opportunities, maybe way too many, and everything is just one click away, and it takes just few minutes to buy whatever or to cancel whatever, because it's also digital, and it's also very detached from a human interaction. So I think if customers don't like a service or a product or get things their way very shortly, they can quickly find somewhere else. And then I think what is actually concerning me a bit, and this is where you are allowed to call me old-fashioned, but no matter how complicated the product or service you buy, either as a professional or as a private person, you don't even have to talk to anyone or get guidance or advice from a real human. And that can be scary. So I mean, I can change my house mortgage, which is kind of the biggest mortgage, at least here in Denmark, I think, in all of Scandinavia. That is kind of the biggest economical impact on all of my family life and my life in general. That takes a few clicks. Don't have to talk to anyone. So and then I think, what else? Factory equipment. Stressed out employee quickly buying something there can also get in trouble. Legal advice for whatever I can purchase online, and this is where I'm like, who challenges me and my knowledge or my lack of knowledge? Who guides me here? I can just go in and buy whatever. So I think that is kind of so this is where I believe, and I also hope that what we today kind of refer to as a human fallback, when we try to have some AI or something do something, I can call a human. Maybe I have to pay for it, I don't know, but I have the opportunity to do it. But I actually think that and hope that that human relation will be demanded a bit more from customers and market, so we can get back to kind of what are the unique selling points. Well, that is kind of trust, advisory, relationship as unique selling points. And I think in some industries I think we see that, or we at least see it trying, because just to take insurance companies dealing with private persons, all of the products, they're kind of aligning. It's almost the same. It's almost the same price. Nobody understands everything about it. So what is the unique selling point? Who helps me what I need, what I don't need, and who helps me what the details of it. So that's what I hope we'll get a bit more back to, because otherwise I think we'll have a lot of customers being in trouble out there.
Yeah, they'll be missing out on the advisory and missing out. They'll be taking standard options, and it's a very good point. And of course, it's totally emotionless, which won't create memories in the end.
No, and then if the advice that you're being provided are just like the simplest basic advice, at least if we're going to go in that direction, those advice should be sort of more reflective, and that would require more text, and then again people wouldn't have time to read it. So I think we need that human interaction as well for our own sake as consumers. But it's really interesting to see. And again, having human connections as a upsell opportunity, I don't know if I like it, but I definitely see that probably is going to be a thing. So
What role would you say employee experience and company culture plays for a top tier customer experience, Martin?
Yeah, and I would think that they are actually closely linked. And starting from the employee side, I think if you have employees that are thriving and understanding their role in what they are delivering to customers and what they are doing for customer experience, they can better deliver on that part and focus on that part. Customers will get the treatment that they need or want, and they will pay you back, creating this win-win situation. And that is where kind of my take on customer centricity comes into place. And this is also where I'm sometimes called naive romantic for CX, because win-win and everybody. But I honestly think there's something about it, right? Because if you have a happy employee, and that happy employee is smiling and have some access power to put into the relationship or the advisory or the selling or the service or whatever the job is, or building the process for invoicing, you're kind of nudging a bit towards more happy customers and better experiences out there. And then measure it, expose what is working, tell your customers and market, hey, as a customer as us, you wanted to do this is how we work on it. But it's easier said than done, right? But I think that is kind of, if you can start moving in that direction, you're doing something super good.
Yeah, and we see it in Joanna's example as well from the moving process, right? If those employees were happier, they probably would have smiled more, and maybe you wouldn't have felt so guilty about ordering loads of stuff from IKEA for your new home. So, but yeah, I totally agree. So, and this question is, we've sort of written it out as a CX question, but feel free to add the EX or the employee experience into the pot as well, because the question is, can you provide an example of a company that exemplifies great customer experience or maybe also great employee experience? And what lessons can we learn from them?
Yeah, I can. And I think like you, Joanna, I want to look towards IKEA, actually. It's kind of it's a favorite one when we talk about CX. But I have a very old example from IKEA, and I think it's actually more than 10 years old. And what they did, I don't know if it would work today, but it worked back then. They did sort of a test in Denmark. They increased the salary to frontline employees because so they were super close to the customers, and those were like, they are providing the customer experience, right? To make them happier about their job, and thereby indirectly smile more and make the impact on customer experience even higher, because they were simply thriving more.
So I love that you mentioned IKEA, because we've seen them doing so much right, even if their customer journey is stressful because you do have to mount your own furniture. But they just launched here in Norway a new sort of marketplace where you can sell your used IKEA furniture. So they basically facilitates for it to happen, and then you just sort of, I haven't tested it yet, but I just love how they try to innovate. And then they're also really good at throwing their good ideas away. If they see that it doesn't work, they just say, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. And I love how they go all in, but then they're all out again if it doesn't work. And I think that's brilliantly from a strategic perspective, that they have that. We allow ourselves to fail. We test things, we do it properly. And then if it doesn't work, we obviously, you need to have a certain size to be able to do that. But the principle of it is still applicable, I think, to many, many more. Dear listener, at this point in this episode, the connection was lost between us and Martin, and we were unable to restore the files. This is why you are now listening to the AI version of Merette's voice, to let you know that the episode was ended by us cheering IKEA a bit more. And we also recommended everyone to follow Martin on LinkedIn. Yet again, thank you for listening to our podcast. That means a lot to AI, me, and Joanna.
Thank you for listening to the CXPod. If you want to reach us, you can always find us on LinkedIn, and please remember to follow us on Spotify and leave a review of what you think.